Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Cecilia, your host. Today I'm joined with two very, very amazing people. We're going to discuss about mental health. If you know me, you know how much I love the stories of mental health and how to improve ourselves and working on yourself and becoming a better person than vile ulikuwa before. Pia, when it comes to mental health, it helps you understand nini nitwaje, why you do the things you do sahizi. So I'm just going to let my guests introduce themselves. I have Cindy and I have Ian. So yeah, I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Oh, hi guys, my name is Cindy Melanie. I'm a counseling psychology student, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter to somebody, and most importantly, I am God's favorite child.
Good morning. My name is Ian Moses. I'm a psychology student, I'm a reader, and also a writer.
Eish. So guys, you hear what wenye niko na wao leo, psychology students too. So these two people like nimewajua for like a minute, and I can say that they are really good when it comes to mental health, and you actually feel like whenever you have a conversation with them about something, you feel understood and you feel cared for. So I'm just going to get into it mara moja, and we're going to start with the first question. So talking about mental health, the first question I'm going to ask you guys ni, how do you take care of your mental hygiene?
Okay, so mental health is something very crucial in our society right now. In the past, people really didn't talk about mental health, there wasn't therapy and all that. But right now, with the things going on in the world, mental health has become a very crucial part of our life. So basically, it deals with the mind, and when the mind is corrupt, it really takes a toll on a person. And so it comes when somebody even is not aware they're going through crisis. Sometimes you may find somebody going through depression and they don't even know unless somebody else has told them. Anyway, there are many instances that can cause mental health problem like PTSD, post-traumatic disorders, anxiety. Just somebody going through trauma can give them mental health crisis. But how do you take care of their mental health? You can do therapy, go and see a counselor if you see you need help. Another way you can uh, take care of your mental health, engage yourself in things that benefit you, like reading books, take a hobby that you like, ensure you just keep yourself grounded in things that empower you rather than take you down, things that are positive for your health, what you take in, what are you reading, what are you seeing, and also the people you engage in are really, really important. Okay, alafu find a support group that encourages you, they tell you positive things, and like those people that always put you down because they always take a toll on your mental health. Yeah.
Okay, what about you, Ian?
So for me, I really love how Cindy has explained, because like if we look in the past, some, like I will just say the conservative movement have actually been doing irreparable harm, especially to mental health education, because majority of these conservative people will actually see no basis in mental health, and mental health is very important, especially in the evangelical Christianity sphere. A lot of them actually disregard counseling. They disregard therapy, they disregard people taking care of themselves, and which is wrong. So, to elaborate much on what Cindy is saying, I can say that taking care of mental health for me comes from doing exercises. I do breath work, which is also somatic psychology. I do breath work and all that. And also, like the breath work that I'm talking about is whereby you put a hand on your stomach, you do a 4-7. 4 is for the stomach, and 7 is for inhaling and exhaling out very slowly. Also, I read a lot of books. I read a lot of books catering to psychology. I don't know why people will say it is a self-help book. No, it is not. It's actually a book on psychology. And also when I read content regarding how to deal with trauma, depression, anxiety. Also, I write down my thoughts, and I write about how I feel. Also on the elements basis on support system. I always strive to look for a support system that gets you, because not a lot of people that you sit with will actually get you, because we have friends who will be like, why are you dealing with this? This is supposed to, people always, okay, for me personally, I've met people who think I don't go through any problems because of the way I present myself. Like I'm so composed. So they always think that depression and anxiety, I don't go through that. But that is actually wrong. It's actually based on the people that I work with who actually give me the strength and the composure to deal with a lot of issues.
Okay, I love that. Ian, there is something you had explained to me earlier on, story of breath work, and I would really like we elaborate vizuri tena.
Okay, so breath work is actually a part of psychology. It's called somatic psychology. So simply, somatic psychology is whereby you try to link your mind, body, and soul together. So these somatic techniques that you use will actually increase your health and give you more relief than actually taking traditional. It's actually a traditional form of healing. So you get a lot of people will be running for, I don't know, antidepressants and a lot of these medicines without actually doing a therapeutic technique that actually brings down those feelings of anxiety. So for me, the thing that works when I'm anxious is I stick my finger into my ear, because the ear is is it like a canal of pleasure. So when you stick an ear here and you take deep breaths in, your body actually goes into a parasympathetic state whereby it will release those feelings of tension from you. Also, some people will do breath work. They will actually sit down on the floor, put their hands on their stomach, because not a lot of people are used to breathing in with their hands on their stomach. So they will actually do that. And they will do four breaths in into the stomach and 7, inhaling 7 times and also releasing that inhalation. It promotes this sense of relief and euphoria in someone.
Okay, thank you so much for elaborating more on that. I would like sasa tuende on kuongeza.
Yeah, I can add on something.
Yeah.
And when you have mental health, make sure you find the source of it. If it's anxiety, where is it coming from? If it's fear, where is it starting from? So that you can be able to deal with it.
Okay, so what I'm getting from this kwanza ni there is journaling, there is therapy. I love therapy. I'm in therapy myself, and I think like it helps you realize a lot. So there is journaling therapy, there is breath work, there is finding a hobby, there is talking with friends. All that nazitakusaidia to take care of your mental hygiene. So to the next thing I'm going to ask you guys, your inner child, how do you take care of her and heal her?
So so the inner child, first of all, we need to understand what it is. So when people say the inner child, they mean the child inside of people. So this child inside of you is what actually informs how you live. So growing up, even your parents do have their inner child. So growing up, the infant you was actually cared for by your parents, and there was a lot of trauma that had happened to you, and so that contaminates your inner child. So we have the acronym for contaminate, which is codependency, offender, narcissistic disorders. We have trust issues. We have acting in and acting out. We have magical thinking, addiction, thought distortion, and emptiness.
Let's start on magical thinking. I've never heard.
You've never heard of magical thinking?
Yeah.
So magical thinking is basically the imagination that your parent imparts in you, because imagination is a very powerful tool for human beings, because even for us to be using this technology as a means of sharing or relaying information, it had to come from somebody's imagination. Yes, so if we have parents who actually give you the power to imaginate and also to have that sense of creating something, then that's where magical thinking becomes. Because even this building was somebody's imagination. They wanted this building to be this way, so yeah.
Oh, let me cut you short let me give you an example of magical thinking. Ever heard of people say, when I have money, I'll be okay?
Oh yeah, true.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
very true, yeah.
Oh, okay. So mmesema your inner child, basically it's the way you were nurtured when you were young. Okay.
Okay, so your inner child, Growing up, we had our parents, some had their caregivers, and we grew up in different environments. So when you're growing up, you know there's this caregiver, your parent, they either make you learn to trust them or you get mistrust. When you get to trust them, meaning that when you cried or when you wanted something, they were always there to give you. You never felt insecure. You had secure attachment. But on the other hand, there are people who grew up with insecure attachment style. They're anxiously attached because their parents were not always there to give them what they needed. When even somebody hurts them, they don't have anybody to go and tell. So they grew up very fast. They had to learn how to be independent because not because that the parents probably didn't care. Maybe their schedule was tight and they thought maybe we are providing, isn't that enough? So many of us grew with childhood traumas, and with childhood trauma comes in toxic shame. You don't want to feel the feelings you have. You repress your emotions, and you've heard of nice people. So these nice people, even when they're hurt, they never get angry. They are not in their authentic self. When somebody hurts you, you are supposed to be angry. You're a human being. Before you process these emotions and now come back to, okay, it happened and I'm now okay. So you become not your really authentic self because now you lost your identity. When you are growing up, they say the child in adult. Now you are an adult, but the child in you is still acting out. The good thing is that childhood trauma takes time, but you can heal them. How? Allow yourself to go through the emotions that you repressed in the past. Slowly by slowly, working on them and just now talking more to the people you felt like they are the ones who caused those traumas.
Okay, wow. Yeah. I love that. So let's talk more about your part, healing your inner child. Yeah.
So basically, healing your inner child, there's a concept that me and Cindy we are reading about. It's called original pain work. So as at now, I was reading about this American psychiatrist. He was called Milton Erickson. So Milton Erickson came up with a hypnosis technique that actually did a lot more to bring your inner child out of you, and a lot of people who did that technique, which is very complicated for somebody to do, actually helped them process their own unresolved trauma. Because we have adults who are still fixated at a stage. And that's why there are some like spas that are popping up, especially in America, because we had this case of a spa whereby grown men and women used to go because they needed to be lullied and cared for even when they are old people. So they used to wear diapers and such, and it was also to kind of like relieve their trauma. I don't know what happened to them during that stage, but you'll find grown men and women wearing diapers to actually, relieve their trauma, which I don't think it's actually a very credible way of healing trauma. So healing, you can actually write letters to your inner child. So there's this technique that I always try, because I write with my right hand, and so my right hand is considered a dominant part of my body. So writing with my right hand will actually not bring out the authenticity of my feelings. So I'll use my left hand. So using my left hand, I'll write like letters to I wrote something like, "Dear Ian," like "Dear adult Ian, please come for me." Those are things that, and then at the end of that letter, I'm like, "Little Ian," like those are the things that we can do to actually know what your inner child is feeling, because majority of ourselves, like our inner babies, they are not able to trust us because of the pain that they went through. That's one thing. You write letters to your young child. Also, another thing that Cindy has really elaborated on, which I've loved, is talking to the people who hurt you. Because like when you go to somebody and you tell them, this is what you did to me and I didn't like what you did this to me, but I'm willing to actually forgive you, and so I'm really willing to forgive you first of all, and I'm willing to enforce boundaries with myself, because I don't have a trauma response when somebody triggers something that I was told as a child to me as an adult. So it is important for you to tell that person who hurt you, I forgive you, but I'm putting boundaries upon our interactions. Because what people don't understand is if I hurt Cindy, for example, and she forgives me, I don't think she has forgiven me to release herself, but I don't have any license to be back in her life. She's like, I've forgiven you, now get out. Now that's the thing that you're supposed to do. Communication heals. Writing letters to your inner child also heals you. Another thing that you're supposed to do, you're supposed to do the work. What she said, it's very profound, because when you look at your trauma, when you really see your trauma, and when you see your trauma, it is important, because when I looked at my trauma, I saw my trauma as something that, I don't know, was hectic, because when you grow up there's a lot of things even your parents didn't even know that you went through. So like for me, it's all called original pain work. So me actually acknowledging that I went through pain and working towards pain will enable me not to act in. So acting in basically is whereby, for example, I did something wrong and I will actually say words that I was told to actually alleviate that feeling of brokenness. Acting out is whereby if something happens to me, I go and I hit somebody else.
Wait,
Yes.
I'm sorry for cutting you short.
Yes.
What you mean by acting in is that unaanza kujiambia. Like,
Yes.
for example, if someone used to call you stupid, now you start calling
Yeah,
yourself stupid.
you start calling yourself
Oh,
stupid.
I think you had told me, like if you're used to being slapped.
Yeah, you also slap yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for me, for example, if I do something wrong, because I was actually engineered to be a perfect machine, so like I'm a machine in short. So like if I do something that is wrong, I'll actually I'll overthink the whole day. Like I can remember I can give a very light instance of this. We were doing a unit called research methodology when I came to campus, and I remember I did know a lot to do with online stuff. And so I remember this time I actually submitted the questions. Instead, like I worked on that assignment for the whole day. I actually didn't go anywhere. I was doing that work perfectly. Like it was a perfect 5-page work. So I sent in the questions. Let me tell you what happened. I acted in. My body shut down and I couldn't move. Because like in the past, like growing up, I was like, oh, you're not supposed to make mistakes. Making mistakes will actually, do this to you. You are not, you have to be perfect. So, like that thing affected me as I grew up, because like I was not letting myself out to the uncertainty that things can go wrong and I can actually mess up. But like me actually, I don't know, like acting in a sense that my body shuts down. Even like thank goodness right now I'm able to be like I'm open to disaster happening. But in the past I was like, because I was told you have to be perfect, you have to be this dependable person, you don't have to have any mistakes. That's why like that really triggered that response in me, that if something happens that does not go my way, I shut down and I can't move. So I have to actually put my phone aside and sleep to actually, get those feelings out.
Okay, now you were explaining. Sorry, I did cut you short. So you were explaining about acting out.
Yeah. So basically, acting out. The bullies have a history of acting out. For example, something happens to you and you want to punch somebody else. That's actually acting out, because the majority of these people, I can say they go hand in hand with the offender. If you remember the contaminate acronym that I used. So acting out is more of like identifying with the offender, because, for example, I become a bully because I was bullied. So it's this very toxic chain of like
You
pain.
become the person who hurt you.
Yes, I become the person who hurt me. So like you find, I will target the weakest person so that I can actually dominate them, because there's something in our psychology, our psyche, that gravitates towards submission and domination. Even men do submit, even women do dominate. There's a lot of this constant push and pull of some of these two things, because whenever I'm sitting down with my clients, I'll ask them, what do you understand by domination and what do you understand by submission, and how does society influence those two components in your relationship and also within yourself? Because sometimes you can be dominant with yourself and sometimes you can be submissive with yourself. So these are actually very two things that you need to understand, because if we don't understand these two terms, we'll act out, and acting out can bring aggression.
Okay, wow. What about you, Cindy? What do you think?
Okay, I think Yana said a lot, and it's actually true. Just to add on a few, People with childhood traumas actually are people pleasers. They're very, very independent. You'd find they have a problem, but they'd rather die with their problems than say. And then throwing tantrums, like the way Yana said, acting out. So, how do you help them? Therapy is good if you know you can't walk this journey alone. You can go to therapy, see a counselor, and they'll be able to guide you in your journey to healing. Support group, it's very important. For instance, your parents are the one who caused you to have childhood traumas, or your friends or your caregivers. The best thing is to just let them know you're going through this journey so that they can make the environment conducive for you, because it would be very unfortunate you're working on your traumas and they're still making it despite knowing that you are on your journey to change. At least now they'll know, oh, Cindy doesn't like when you shout at me, so they'll communicate better with you. And then we have learned a lot of things growing up, and I really, really strongly emphasize on this. You have to unlearn some things and relearn. You have to unlearn the bad things you learned when you're growing up, that your parents, you are insecure, that people are actually there for you right now. You shouldn't be insecure. So you unlearn those bad things you acquired when you're growing up and relearn new things. And then you have to detach yourself from that childhood environment you are in, and now be mindful. Now know that you're in a safe environment. Nobody's going to harm you. Like when I was growing up, we used to be really financially unstable. And so even right now we have money, but I'm still that anxious, like, tomorrow are we going to still have this money? You see, I'm still in that environment of lacking, yet we now have. So you have to detach yourself from that environment that was unsafe for you.
Okay, well, I love that, especially the part of you can unlearn things. And my mind just switched for a minute to. I remember I was listening to this podcast. It's called Diary of a CEO podcast, and the interviewee, the girl who had come on the episode I was watching, she was saying that it's okay to hold multiple truths. It's okay to know that this is okay, but another thing facing the same direction is also okay. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Like you can already uko ukijua chenye unajua alafu sasa ujue kitu ingine. So I think paint in tragic, it holds pia with the belief of you can unlearn things and learn other things. I was nearly forgetting this question, and it's good nimekumbuka. I want to touch a bit on narcissism.
So, narcissism is actually a personality disorder, first of all, because narcissists arise from like their childhood. I remember I was reading this somewhere. If a parent does not actually illuminate positive aspects of their child's personality, the children will have this sense to be narcissist. I don't know whether you're getting the drift. If the parent actually doesn't illuminate that your worth is not dependent on actually being seen by other people. Yeah, so like narcissists arise from that, because like if your parent actually didn't tell you have to appreciate the difficult and also the beneficial parts of your personality, then we'll aspire to have that personality disorder, because we'll actually be acting outside of what society dictates people to act out of. Because narcissists, if you see a narcissist, you know how a narcissist looks like. The way they talk, the way they walk. There's this sense of exaggeration that they have because they pretend that they know it all, you know. And so a lot of these people are very arrogant, very, very arrogant. If you meet them, you'll be sick to the stomach, because they're like, it's always about me, and not about the other person that is around them. So when we look at narcissists and we look at their background, it's a background of trauma, because their parents actually didn't show them that they are very unique on their own rights. They don't need to be recognized by other people. So you'll find that they will be pretending that, I'm very good in this, I'm very proficient in this. But in reality, they are psychopaths, because, okay, I'm not supposed to use psychopaths because I'm a psychologist, but it's true, they're psychopaths, because like if you meet some of them, they're very sadistic in nature. If, for example, take this, I'm having an argument with a narcissist. I cry because of the emotional load that interaction made me feel. So the narcissist will actually feel bad because I'm crying, because of their actions, and they feel bad because I'm reacting to their actions. So like, I'm not giving them the power and the satisfaction of putting them at a stage, because they constantly want to be on stage. So a lot of these narcissists will actually feel like they don't want you to have any power of your own. They take away your autonomy. Yeah.
So what I'm getting from this, if you are around a narcissist, first of all, they glorify themselves.
Very much.
They glorify themselves, and then they're like, the second point I'm getting, if it's always about them, meaning they will forever and ever, amen, gaslight your problems.
Yeah.
That is what I'm getting. Cindy, there was something you were telling me, I think maybe last week, you were telling me about the part of victimization.
Yeah. So narcissists are very toxic kind of people, very, very toxic to be around, and they selfishly love themselves. So you may not even get to realize how toxic they are until now you leave that space, and they thrive in victimhood. They have done something to you, but they will make it seem like it's your problem. You are the problem, but in the real sense, they are the problem. As I told you, you can decide to walk away from them or love them from afar for your own goodness sake.
Yeah, I think like when we were touching on this, I was like, basi kama they are this bad, si basi you just avoid them. You should not even like interact at all with them.
At first.
You cannot interact kabisa with them. But I remember, Cindy, you asked me, so what if the narcissist is your family?
Yeah.
What if it is your family? Now you have no choice apart from be around them from time to time, and you'll just have to love them from afar.
You know, family, when it comes to family now, there is like a way you can compromise. But I always say to anyone around me that when it comes to protect yourself, don't be scared to be rude, don't be scared to block someone, don't be scared to take. You have seen children who have grown with toxic parents, who continue to be even toxic when they grew up. You find a lady has given birth and their mom keeps on telling them, oh, your body is looking, kwani your body is never looking good, umenona, and this is the mother. You know, you can't continue staying with that parent who's making you feel bad. You just love them from afar, but don't always be there watching them making you feel bad. Or you can decide to communicate and tell them. Sometimes somebody doesn't realize they are narcissistic unless you make them aware, so that they can see, oh, you know, even sometimes you see a person going through depression and they don't know until you tell them, hey, Cecilia, nowadays you're zoning out. So they say, oh, by the way, they now start becoming aware of what is going through around them. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. And I would, now let's just move from that. We go to the next topic, which is self-love and self-hate. Sichobaya, but I would want to start with the hate first, then we go to the good part.
Okay. Self-love and self-hate. Self-hate, what is it? You not liking how you look. You not liking your sound when you speak. you not liking every aspect of your life.
Why do I feel like
No, you are not being attacked. But anyway, self-hate, when it comes, you don't even realize. You start not taking care of yourself. You have a certain disregard about yourself. And actually, for me, I can say there's a point in my life I really hated myself, and it stemmed out of just me comparing myself to other people, not seeing my potential and my capabilities. So I used to compare myself with the way I would dress, because I looked different, and I didn't know that in my difference I was unique. So I used to compare myself with other people, and also the environment around me made me feel like I'm inferior. Like I do not belong here because I didn't do what they were doing. So I guess I wasn't really self-aware, and so I hated myself very, very much. I didn't even believe in my potentials because now people had suppressed that. They had made me feel I'm not good enough. You can't amount to anything. Also, I'd like to say, parents and caregivers play a really large role in making you just stop hating yourself, because you may find kids growing up in a family where the parent keeps on saying, you will go far. Like, Cecilia, I see you're really a bright girl. They keep on, you're beautiful. Guy. When that parent keeps on telling you that, you know it sticks. And that child grows up knowing, I'm beautiful. You know, nobody can tell me anything. But in the society we live in, where there is a standard of beauty, there is a standard of dressing for both boys and girls, I told you of an example where you hear, I wouldn't date short men. What do you expect that short man to have? Of course, low self-esteem and self-hate. Nobody will love me for the way I was created, and it's a matter of, I found myself this way. I cannot change it. Imagine if right now, Ian, everybody would have created themselves. You would have given yourself a model body. Exactly. You would have made yourself uniquely and God knew when he created all of us. He made us unique in our own aspect. And so how do you expect this short man to live when you have already told him you can't date? I know you have your preference, but is it a must you tell him I can't date short men?
So in a way,
Yeah.
you're reducing even his confidence.
Yeah, so again, it stems from how I grew up knowing, somebody can tell me that and it doesn't change. Like right now, if somebody tells me something, I won't believe it. I have that aspect of what God says about me. In the Bible, God says, I am beautifully and wonderfully made. So if God has said that about me, it doesn't change whatever you say as Cecilia, whatever you say as Ian. It still remains the fact that God has already named me. I am beautifully and wonderfully made. Yeah.
What do you think about this, Ian?
Okay, Cindy has been stealing my points. Okay, I think we think the same. Yeah, so I can agree with her because even for me, I used to fall into that toxic train of saying, I can't date this specific type of person. I have this specific type of standards. So now that is more of like the cultural shame. We have cultural and toxic shame. So when she says a very good example, somebody can't date short men, and there's also somebody who says they can't date tall and dark men. So there's that discrimination that happens, and there's that sense of, like the worst type of hate is hate coming from outside. Even your own type of hate is not that intense as it is as that type of hate that is coming from people around you. Because for me, I grew up in a certain sense where I hated how my body looked like. I hated how I talked because people are like, you're not black, you're not even black enough. You speak too good English, so I don't want to talk to you. So a lot of that thing I internalized on it because I was like, why does anybody not want to be with me? Is it because I'm not too black enough, or am I white? Because at that time I used to hate how I looked like. I hate that I was black. So the funny thing is, I used to write God very long letters and telling God, I just want you to make me a white person. That's what I used to do. I used to write very long letters and put it next to on the nightstand. So in the morning, I will wake up and still find myself as a black man. So I was so angry at God. I was this silly little young man. I was like threatening God. I was telling God, I need to be white right now. I don't belong in this country. Nobody wants to be with me. So that sense of hate came from outside, and then I internalized it. So also, I think self-hate can make you do destructive things, because when you don't have love within yourself, there are some things you can't do, because self-love creates boundaries. But with self-hate, there's no boundary you can't cross. You'll find people who hate themselves will get into these toxic relationships. Will get into these very toxic relationships because they will be like, this is what happened to me, and they hate themselves. They'll be like, oh, I love myself, but they hate themselves. The biggest sign of hate for me nowadays is especially the body positivity movement, because like for me, I'm doing exercise, right? I'm not that fat, but when you find people who are like, oh, I was in a panel whereby I met this young woman, whereby she was like, I love being fat, I love being fat, and she's not actually working. So like you find I met this woman, right? Like I was saying before, my train of thought actually veered away. So like you find this woman, she will be like having this. And I was telling her, she was like, oh, I love being fat. And that is actually, you're hating yourself, because you're eating yourself to death. Because like when you become fat, there are some health complications that arises from it: infertility, heart problems. So you get like, if you don't love yourself, loving yourself means that you can take a walk, you can walk, you can do it doesn't mean that you have to go to the gym and become Hercules or Hulk. No, it is a matter of you going to the gym, doing some little light exercise, you can walk. It actually helps boost dopamine in your brain, because there's some research that shows that. So you find that if for me, internalizing on the hate aspect of this, I think hate can make you do destructive stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Just to add, this body shaming thing, you all want them to be thin or to be nini plus size. So ukisema wote tukonde, nani atanaona surely? Ama wote tukwe plus size, nani atakuwa mkonde? I think if you make peace with that aspect, utakuwa unakuwa bothered na hizo mambo za body type, the nice one.
Okay, so can you touch a little bit on self-love?
Self-love. Okay. To me, self-love is loving you, nini. Self-love is loving yourself unconditionally. You being able to make sound decisions, like walking away from places where you feel unwelcomed, friendships where you feel unvalued, and also just rewarding yourself when you do even little by little steps. You make small advancement, you reward yourself, you take yourself on those solo dates, you value yourself. Nobody can tell you nothing. You love yourself to the point where when people say this, you're contented. You love yourself for who you are and not what society defines you to be or any other person. So I think self-love is something you cultivate time immemorial. It's not just something that comes, voila. And also advice, if there's any parent watching, it's just good for you to show your child love and also to show them that it is important for them to love themselves in their unique personalities. Yeah.
Okay, so what should you add on, Ian?
Okay, for me to add on, I think self-love for me should go hand in hand with relational culture. So simply, relational culture is how you relate with people. There's a certain sense of you relating to yourself. So if you have a very good relationship with yourself, then it will translate into the relationships that you'll have with people around you. So I love how Cindy has kept it. Self-love is about loving yourself. These little acts of affirmations or services to you, it's very the love languages. You take yourself out for dinner, you do some affirmations for yourself. I think that is, I don't have much to add on that other than let her continue.
Okay, I've remembered a point just to add on something. I remember I told you something about being lonely and being alone. So you should strive to love your own space. Even when your friends are not there, your family are not there, you are happy with yourself. Yani umezoea kuboeka mpaka ukaboeka mpaka ikakubamba. Like you don't have a problem being alone. When you're alone, even if you now start dating, the guy finds you or the girl finds you when you are alone. You have already known how to live with yourself. Now you are able to live with others. But when you are lonely, you are likely to attract situational kinds of relationships, friendships which are for benefit, you guys, those not real friendships. Now people find you in your vulnerable self when you're lonely. But when you're alone, it means you have successfully passed the test of you being alone, loving your space. And by the way, when you're alone, it's when now you see your real, what is it called, characteristics. Now you find the evil in you, because now when you're alone, you find those voices speaking to you. And now when you hear those voices, is now when you address them, because now you feel messed up. Why am I thinking like this? Why do I now depression? You start even thinking of suicide. Now that's when the time you can now address them, challenge those thoughts, and you will be able to be okay.
Okay, so thank you so much for that. We're going to touch on the last question. Self-awareness and confidence. To some point, I feel like they go hand in hand. So can we talk about that?
Self-awareness.
Yes, plus confidence.
Plus confidence. Self-awareness is basically just from the word awareness. You know about yourself. You know your values, what you stand for. You cannot go against your values. And actually, one thing that causes anxiety is when you go against your values. That's where the guilt comes in to now haunt you, because you went away from your values. And then the habits you have, like mtu anajua tu Cecilia likes chewing, it's her, she's self-aware. I know I like chewing. The habits and the values you subscribe to, the attitude you have. We know Cecilia maybe sassy, classy, ratchety. We know that's Cecilia. Now self-awareness, actually that crisis comes when you're just about to enter puberty. That's where most people lose themselves. And around the university, you can just see people who are not self-aware. They don't know their worth. They don't know what they are actually supposed to be going to. You find people doing, okay, I don't want, well, I can give examples. Okay, let me not give it. Yeah, it's the examples, like you can find people going for things that, but when you see these people, you see they're worth more than what they're doing. Now, when you're self-aware, confidence comes naturally. You now are able to face your fears. You are able to face those things that were hard for you in the past. But people who are not self-aware, they kind of have problem with their confidence, but not even necessarily that. Confidence is something that you build slowly by slowly. Not everyone started confident. Some people just grew confident slowly by slowly. And it's not ati ni rahisi. It's something you have to work on, because confidence, you sometimes you notice you know about yourself, but umewekwa kwa space yenye now you have to talk in front of people. You find hapana, I know myself, lakini kuna venye uko na the fear of unknown. But when you start talking, even when before you started your podcast, you realized when you start you were nervous, but when you continue you find, so I can speak. You find the unique things in you, and you go on and go on. So confidence is something you just build slowly by slowly.
I think hapo nitaagree kabisa. I agree to that. Yeah.
Self-awareness and self-confidence basically is, self-awareness is you're able to understand yourself, you're aware of your wrongs and your rights and your value systems and also your beliefs. Confidence is the ability for you to be able to undertake tasks without having any fear. For example, Cindy is very self-confident in how she does her work. Okay, I'll touch on Cindy because I know her, because she's very, very like studious, very thorough with her work. Sometimes she gives me pressure because I'm like, I'm supposed to be the example, but I really learn from her. She's very thorough with her work. Like even me, sometimes I'm like, I'm very thorough, but not to an extent. She's very confident because she knows how to take care of children, she knows, children, like she's very confident. Leave me with a child, I will not even know what the child is, what the child needs. So she's very, if we take Cindy to a daycare, so she'll know what this child, so there's that she's very self-confident in that. So confidence is you having power to do things without fear, and also that skill, the expertise. And awareness is you knowing your value systems, your belief systems. Because like you find people who don't have self-awareness compromise, because even in church there's this very powerful thing that says if you settle on more, settling on more is like you settling on God. God gives you like the higher minimum, because there's an awareness that God gives you. There's that barometer of awareness that God gives you. So you find if somebody does tilts to a life of like, I don't know, sin or something, they settle for less, because you find these people don't know themselves. These are the type of people who will be told, let's go to this way, they just go. So if you are self-aware, you're like, I don't want to go party on a Friday night, I want to sit down and spend the time with my family.
Oh wow, I think I love that. And yeah, funny enough, we are done. Like we are done. Imagine we are done. So I think vitu zenye nimepick up from history yote, first of all, your mental health is very, very important. Take care of your inner child. Try to heal her. Try to do the work for yourself. Journal, do therapy. Just do what works for you. And everything else will just fall into place with time. Remember that history yote, it's not like a matter of a minute or a day or 2 days or nini. It's something that you have to be really consistent with. And by the end of the day, like everything else that takes time, and if you're consistent with it, it will grow and utafika hapo. Even when it comes to your mental health, guys, it's going to work out in the end. So that's it. I mean, what? That's all for today. I'll see you guys next week. If, by the way, there is something you would want to eke on our podcast, please do tell us. We will try our best to customer tailor it to your preferences. Yeah. So I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much.